Hello again and welcome to part 5 of the 1.10 multivariate investigation. Today we're looking at the analysis of the graph as far as the shape is concerned. It's quite a lot of work to be done around this, but first of all let's have a look at what we're looking for. So with the shape we can be looking for what we see on the dot plot. So our obvious would be what we can see each dot plot using general terms, and we'll come across those in a minute. What shape is the dot plot for each group tending towards? What things from the dot plot tell you that it is tending towards that shape? What things from the box plot support your statements? Be specific, use numerical values if applicable, and what does this mean? So is it what you think it was going to be or not? So the next part is that we can actually use these particular shapes as what we are going to use as our descriptions of what the graph overall looks like. So we've got a symmetrical graph with one mode. So there's one peak at the top and it looks very much like it's the same on both sides. So there's like a mirror image on both sides of this graph. That's what the symmetric part means. It's left skewed if most of the data is on the right-hand side. So we say it's left skewed if the tail is to the left. And same for the right skewed if the tail is to the right. Uniform means overall it looks kind of like a box. It's very well spread out and the data values seem to be regular across the pattern of the graph. Bimodal means that you've got two peaks. They don't have to be the same height, but there's something going on here and something going on here. And quite often we get bimodal graphs when we're looking at some data that hasn't been split by gender. And we might get a different pattern for males than we do for females. So we talk about the two different splits. Multimodal, obviously there could be things that are three based, so it could be age based. So in this particular case there are three-ish looking modes and these could be different ages based around things. So we use these words to describe our graph. NZ Grapher actually does some of this for us. So if I have a look at the graph that I've been drawing, there is a shape outline box here now, thanks to Jake for putting this in. So if we tick this box, it actually shades our graph over the top. So you can see for this one, it's looking very uniform, except for maybe these 3 points here. These 3 points here have tended to make it a little bit left skewed. And you can see that because this line here, so the lower quartile of the graph of the data is very stretched out. So that would support our statement that we think it's skewed. And in this one, it's not really symmetrical. It's kind of got a two peak thing going on. So we would probably call this a bimodal graph, even though the outline doesn't show it. And it's got this long tail on this side, so we'd say it might be slightly right skewed. So if we have a look at the sort of thing we might write, we've got, from my graph, I can see that the data in the backs graph appears to be symmetrical and unimodal. There's the mode up here somewhere, with the exception of these three left-hand values. We could also say it's left skewed, which is not obvious from the curve, but when we look at the tail on the box and whisker, that supports our judgment to say it is left skewed. The forward graph is not symmetrical and could be classed as bimodal because there's one lot and another lot, all right? And it could also be said to be right skewed. By looking at the box and whisker, we can see that length there is much longer than the other side. So there is a tail of data caused by these two here, really. These three over here cause the left skew. These two cause the right skew. So we could talk about that as part of it as well. So I've put a little basis here, but your paragraph could be longer, and that could be supported by statements like, it appears that the type 5 are further up here than perhaps these guys here at the front row who are slightly shorter, and then we get the overlap of people who can be both. So all those sort of discussions here. This one here, what would cause those three guys to be way out there? We might come into that a little bit later. So have a go at your particular one on the marathon data and see if you can, one, draw the graph for the shape and then talk about it as far as OSIM is concerned.